Him they speak of as the supreme status. Those who attain to Him return not. That is my supreme abode. The unmanifest is imperishable, so it is said. That unmanifest which is called the imperishable is also spoken of as the supreme status. Once one attains to Him, then one does not return again. It is the point of no return. That is the supreme abode of God. This is the goal of the Gita. And why only the Gita? If there is any spiritual scripture, then its very goal is this: to take human beings to such a state from which there is no return. If I were to go further than this, then I will say that not just in spirituality, but in every field of life, we make such efforts so that we reach such a state and such a point from which we do not have to return. In the field of wealth, a person thinks that I will gather so much wealth from which I would not have to return again, and from which I will not have to struggle again. If a person is doing business, then he thinks that I will reach such a state in my business from which I do not have to return again. I may have had struggle at the beginning working at a stall, but I will go from a stall to a shop, to 2 shops, to a factory, to a business empire, and then I will never need to set up a stall again. Human beings always make efforts so that they never have to go back again. It is the same with education. If a child is studying at school for the month of June, when school opens throughout the whole year to April, then when he has to give examinations, at the time of giving examinations, he has only one thought: that I do not wish to study all of this again and have to repeat the year. I wish to go forward. This is the point of no return. Just like how we think at every moment in everyday life, in the same way, in what we call our real life, because life is not this everyday life, which is only a part, and in what we call our existence, have we ever thought about that I should do it in such a way that I do not have to come again into this birth and death? Punarapi jananam, punarapi mananam, punarapi janani, chatare shrayana, iha samsare, kau dusare, krupaya pare pai murare. Born again, death again, born again, to stay in the mother's womb, it is indeed difficult to cross the boundless ocean of the material world. O Murari Krishna, take me back with your grace, as Srimad Adi Shankaracharya said. Have you ever thought about what you can do so that you never have to come back to the circle of life and death? This place and this abode is a supreme status on attaining which one does not have to return again. If we look at it from another perspective, then movement is a rule of the material world, but steadiness is in the supreme status. The moment when you stop movement and become steady, then this is the supreme status. While you sit on a Ferris wheel, then you have to keep moving round and round, but once you come out of the Ferris wheel and stand there, then you watch everybody moving around in a circle and enjoy yourself. Therefore, you should decide whether you wish to enjoy yourself while moving, or whether you wish to enjoy yourself while standing there and watching. There is enjoyment in movement, and there is pleasure in the material world, which is why we all come there. If there were no pleasures in the material world, then nobody would go there. There are pleasures in the material world. If there were no pleasures in the material world, then people would still not leave it. We tell people that there is no happiness in the material world, but people still hold on to it. In this world, 100% of people are sad and 101% of people are happy, because nobody wishes to leave this material world. If people are sad, then they should begin to leave it, but people do not wish to leave. What I mean to say is that we get some pleasure from the material world and we stay there. The Dharma Paramam, the supreme status, is such a place where there is steadiness and peace. How does this Dharma Paramam supreme status comes? It is when those who attain to God do not return. When one attains to that level, then one does not have to return, and one does not get rebirth. What is the reason for this? In the Vajrayana Yajurveda Samhita, there is a mantra that Tat apashyat, tat abhavat, tat asit, which means he saw the supreme truth. As soon as he saw that with a capital T, he became that with a capital T, because he was always that with a capital T. I repeat, he saw the supreme truth. As soon as he saw that, then he became that, because he was always that. Those who have studied European history will have heard of Napoleon's very famous quote, which is similar to this, which is what? He came, he saw, he conquered. In the same way, there is this mantra, Tat apashyat, tat abhavat, tat asit. He saw the supreme truth. As soon as he saw that, then he became that, because he was always that. He came, he saw the Dharma Paramam, supreme status. As soon as he saw that, then he became that. This is because he was always that. He was never different. He realized this after he had attained the supreme truth. What is this Dharma Paramam supreme status like? Ramanujacharya says that Paramam Niyamanasthanam, which means this is the highest peak object of God's control. God is saying that his control goes there even at the Dharma Paramam, the supreme status. It is the highest peak. Srimad Ramanujacharya has shown us 3 places of control of the Supreme Soul's Dharma Paramam, supreme status. The first place of God's control is Achetan Prakriti Ekam Niyamanas Sthanam, which means the first place of God's control is material Prakriti, nature. Then the second place of God's control is the consciousness of beings joined with this material Prakriti, nature. The consciousness of beings joined with this material Prakriti, nature. Tad Shanshusta Rupa Jiva Prakriti Vitayam Niyam Manasthanam. The third place of God's control is one's own people form, that is Svasvarup, the form of one's own self. Achit Sansarga Niyuktam Swarupena Vashistam Mukta Swarupam Paramam Niyamasthanam Iti Artaha. The contact and relation with that God's is Dharma Paramam, supreme status. Therefore, the 3 places of God's control are material Prakriti, nature, the consciousness joined with material Prakriti, nature, and the pure form of oneself where all materiality has gone away. The pure form of oneself is Dharma Paramam, supreme status. How can we attain the Dharma Paramam, supreme status? Do we have the right to the Dharma Paramam, supreme status? Yes. How can we attain the Dharma Paramam, supreme status? God says in the next verse that this can be attained by Ananya Bhaktiya, unswerving devotion. If you perform bhakti devotion, then you can attain the Dharma Paramam, supreme status. I heard about something very beautiful that I wish to tell you all. If human beings decide with their minds and become purified in the hearts that I wish to attain this Dharma Paramam, supreme status, then the invitation of the Dharma Paramam, supreme status, is standing there already. We say within the limits of language that Vaikunt Sakru Ne Bhagat Kara. Vaikunt, the abode of God, is small and there are many devotees. But Vaikunt, the abode of God, is not small, there is a need for more devotees. There is an enormous amount of space in Vaikunt, the abode of God, and there is no lack of space. An American poet was once traveling on the train. He was sitting by the window. Next to him, there was a person sitting there who was of the age of around 40 to 45. He was just sitting there. His beard was long and he looked a little shady. He had worn clothes, but he did not make much arrangements for his clothes. He was traveling at that time. The poet was reading a book and looking out the window while the train was moving. After 2 or 3 hours went, the person who was sitting next to him made a request to the poet. He did not know him and did not introduce himself. He requested that, "Sir, if you don't mind, can I have your seat for some time by the window?" The poet found this strange, because nobody would ordinarily say this. Sometimes it may happen in the East that a parent may tell the child to sit next to an uncle by the window, even though they did not know this uncle, but it doesn't happen in the Western world. There's a lot of distance between people, and there are many different reasons for this, which I don't want to go into now, but usually people do not say this. The poet thought about why this person was saying this. He found it strange. He thought that this person had a place to sit, and he was sitting there. He asked the person why he was asking this. The person replied that, "If you're asking for the reason, then I will have to tell you a little of my life story." The poet asked him to say it. The person said, "My age is 45 and I've come here having served a 12-year jail sentence. I've been released from prison yesterday evening. I've committed a terrible crime and I've done very bad things in my life. It was proved that I had committed a crime and I had been given a prison sentence of 12 years. I had committed this crime in my town. I am coming here having served this jail sentence. From jail, I wrote letters to my parents who lived in the village. I did not receive a reply to any of my letters from them in these 12 years. At the beginning, I would write letters every week and would wait because all the other prisoners would receive letters, but I received no letters. The frequency of me writing letters decreased and I did not get any replies. Not only that, but all the other prisoners had their relatives coming to see them, but my parents never came to meet me from the village throughout these 12 years. And they have done right. This is because I have understood while carrying out internal introspection that I had committed such a terrible crime and that I had made such a mistake that my parents were not prepared to see my face. I can understand their feelings. I have no complaints towards my parents why they never wrote letters to me during these 12 years and why they never came to meet me. But when I got the order to leave and was told that I would be released from prison in a week because of my good behavior while in prison, then I thought a lot that throughout these 12 years, my parents never came to see me and did not write me any letters. Now where will I go upon being released from prison? This is because this means that they must have left me. Otherwise, if they had just a little feeling towards me, then they would have come to see me and they would have written letters. But they have discovered me, they have broken relations with me, and they have left me. This is what I felt. But I still have my feelings inside, and the mistake was mine, therefore I have to make the efforts. I have written a letter to my parents that I'll be released from prison on this day, and that on the next morning I'll sit on a train and would go towards some towns. I've got a ticket for a long journey, but my village will come along the way. The reason why I want to sit by the window is because my village is coming, and I had written in a letter to my parents that they had not come to see me for 12 years, and they had not written letters to me because I understand that they must have disowned me and they had given me up, but it is my duty, and that is why I asked them that while I am passing on the train, then I know that our farm will come up on the way, and there is an apple tree on our farm. So if they put up a white flag on that tree, then I will understand that they have accepted me. This is because if they received this letter and wrote back to me, then I would become released from prison by then. I have become released from prison. I'm going to pass through there, and if there is a white flag on top of the apple tree, then I would understand that they are waiting for me and that they have accepted me. Because the station comes immediately after the farm, I will get off at the station, and if I do not see the flag there, then I will understand that they have not accepted me, and I know that my mistake is so bad that I will not comment on their lives again, and I will live my own life in my own way. But if they have forgiven me, then I will see a white flag on that apple tree. The prisoner who had been released from jail told the poet that the reason why I wish to sit by the window is because my village will come in 10 to 15 minutes. I wish to see whether there is a white flag on the apple tree or not. Then I will sit down again. If I have to get out of the carriage, then I will get out and come back to my old seat. Because the situation was like this, the poet could not say no, and the poet said, "Fine, you sit there." The released prisoner was sitting by the window, and the poet went and sat in the prisoner's old seat. The village was coming close. While staring outside the window, tears came into the eyes of the prisoner. He remembered his entire life and how young he was, how his parents raised him, how much his parents had done for him, and how much he owed his parents, yet he had committed such a crime that his parents did not like it. He was thinking about how he had lived his life, and tears kept coming out of his eyes. He kept looking outside the window. Then suddenly something happened. He got up from the window and told the poet that, "No, brother, you come back and sit in your place. It is fine that I am seated here." The poet thought that this is a very strange person and said, "Brother, you can sit here. Now I am telling you to sit here. You should see for when the village comes and when your farm comes about whether there is a white flag on the apple tree. You should look out for this. I'm requesting for you to sit down there and look out for this." The other person said, "Brother, the train is moving. You do me a favor and sit here in your seat by the window because I'm sitting in my place and it's fine like that." The poet asked, "Why do you not want to see?" The person said, "I have a lot of wishes to look out the window, but I cannot gather the courage to look out the window." The poet asked him, "Why is this so?" The person thought a little and said that, "Dear poet, I'm looking at the window with so many hopes, and if I see that there is no white flag on the apple tree, then I will not be able to tolerate it. I was able to tolerate the tough punishment of 12 years of imprisonment, but if I do not see that white flag, then this will mean that my parents have not accepted me despite the amount of efforts I made to write letters. This will mean that the people in my village are not prepared to accept me. This will mean that my parents are not prepared to accept me. I will not be able to tolerate this. Will you be able to tell me whether the white flag is there or not? I would not be able to see whether there is a white flag on the apple tree or not." And there is another thing, the poet, "Too many tears are coming out of my eyes. and I have become filled with feelings. It is possible that there may be a white flag on the apple tree, but I am not able to see it. It is also possible that so many tears are coming out of my eyes, and my parents may have placed a flag there, yet I am not able to see it. Therefore, there is a lot of possibility of me making a mistake. You are able to see it. You have heard about my entire story, and that is why you should sit by the window, and you should tell me whether the flag is there or not. When he said this, then the poet went and sat by the window again, and the person went and sat in his own place. He kept looking towards the poet. The train was moving, and the village came close. The person told the poet that, "Dear poet, this is my village. This is my neighbor's farm. Now this is my farm." As soon as the person said that this is his farm, then the poet looked outside the window, and as soon as the poet looked outside the window, a flood of tears came into his eyes. Tears came out of his eyes. The prisoner got up and asked, "Poet, why are you crying? Why are tears coming out of your eyes?" The poet said this with his eyes filled with tears that, "Dear brother, get off the train, because on top of every apple tree there is not one flag, but there are flags on each and every leaves and branches of that tree. Not only your parents, but your entire town and every single one of your relations have put up so many flags that each and every person will be waiting for you. Get off the train." Tears came out of this poet's eyes. The train began to move slower and slower. The prisoner hugged the poet a lot and went running towards the door. He then got off the train. The entire town was ready, waiting for him with flags. This is a very beautiful event. We're traveling on the train of existence. We have done some wrong deeds and we have made some mistakes. And the meaning of a kavi, a poet, is also a gnani, a wise person. A wise person is sitting by the window, is telling us what is happening outside. And the moment when we want liberation, we are also looking for a flag. We think that, is there someone there to accept us? The Supreme Soul is our mother and our father, and the individual thinks about whether the Lord will accept him. And the Indian race is very fortunate that if we go to any place, then there are so many flags everywhere. There's a flag of Nathdwara, the flag of Tirupati, the flag of Ambaji, and many other flags. If you go to each and every temple, then there are flags waving everywhere. When seeing this, a saint is giving a very nice description that God is residing in each and every temple, is telling us all that this flag is waving and you should come because the Dharma Paramam, supreme status, is open for you. Each and every being is accepted if we are ready to go there. And if we think about it a little more, then we would understand that because of the mistakes we have made and because of the tears that are flowing out of our eyes, our vision is not clear and we need the help of some Kavi poet who is a Gnani wise person or Guru sitting by the window to see whether our God is ready to accept us or not. And the Guru will tell us to get off. We need a Guru until this high level, and it is not in our hands to get off. It is possible for each and every person to enter into the Dharma Paramam, the supreme status. How can this happen? What is this Dharma Paramam, the supreme status? What is this unmanifest that is never changing? We all search for the Dharma Paramam, supreme status, avyaktat anya avyakta sanatana paraha bhava, about which it is said that chacha apara vruti rupam. Those who in reality wish to attain this Dhamma Paramam, supreme status, should look around themselves on all four sides, and in every object, wherever their vision goes, they should ask them the question about what is the object like. They should ask themselves what this object, person or situation is like. After thinking, we will get the answer that sometime this object, person or situation was not there. They were not there, we will see them now, and after a while, such a moment will come when this object, this person or this situation will not be there. They were not there in the past, they are not here in the present, and such a moment will come in the future when these objects, people or situations will not be there. They will be destroyed. The scriptures say that Jayate asti vardate vipram nate akshire nashyati. Birth, being, growth, consequences, deterioration and destruction. Every person, object or situation has to go through these phases. They are first born, then they are existing, then they grow, then they change, then they begin slowly and slowly deteriorating and degenerating, and in the end they are destroyed. Every person, object or situation has to go through these 6 phases or these 6 steps. And whatever passes through these 6 phases cannot be Dharma Paramam, supreme status. Therefore, first, it must be decided that every manifest person, object or situation that comes within the grasp of the senses, all of these are not the Dharma Paramam, the supreme status. Then we reach another level when we are going towards the unmanifest. One unmanifest is such that it attains a form that is the manifest. The scriptures use the word Guna Samya Prakriti for this. This is because if we have become manifest, then how did we become manifest? Because at some time we were the unmanifest. From that we become manifest, and we would once again go back to the unmanifest. Therefore one unmanifest must be such that it attains a form in the manifest. This is what the first type of unmanifest is. And the second type of unmanifest is such that it always remains all in one, everywhere, continuing and eternal. This unmanifest never changes. This is what the second type of the unmanifest is. This unmanifest is the supreme truth. The first type of unmanifest that takes a form as a manifest is the Upadan Karan, the substance of creation of all perishable objects. The terminology of the Upadan Karan, the substance, and the Nimitta Karan, the creator, is worth understanding. If a potter makes a pot out of clay, then the clay is a substance and the potter is a creator. That without which one cannot exist is the Upadan Karan, the substance. If the potter is sitting there but there is no clay, then how will all these pots be made? It's a basic thing. The Nimitta Karan, the creator, is a potter. If there is a pile of clay, then while there is no potter, no pots will be made. But if there is no potter, then you can find another potter who will make the pots, and if that potter is not there, then you can find yet another potter. Therefore the potter can be changed, but you cannot go without the clay. Therefore there is the Upadan Karan, the substance, and the Nimitta Karan, which is the creator. The first type of unmanifest that takes a form as the manifest is the Upadan Karan, the substance of the manifest. It is the Upadan Karan, the substance of the world. And then if the pot that was made out of clay breaks, then once again it becomes amalgamated with the clay. In the same way, the manifest becomes finished and destroyed, and therefore goes back to the unmanifest. Therefore this type of unmanifest is the Upadan Karan, the substance for the manifest. There is no steadiness in this. That is why it cannot be the Dharma Paramam, the supreme status. If a person goes to the very cold countries, then if you look at some of them, then they're very big lakes. When it gets to the cold in the month of December, then the ice piles up in the lake. There is so much ice that you cannot go running in the lake. And sometimes so much ice piles up that cars can go direct. People even go skiing on it. It is a lake, the ice on it is hardly one football, and underneath there is so much water, a foot long, and underneath there is so much water. It is a principle of physics that if there is ice on top, then no matter if the ice is -4 degrees, the water underneath still remains at 0 degrees. The freezing point of ice is -4 degrees. There may be water underneath, but there is a block of ice on top of which people can go travel and do everything. But when that block of ice is made, then can you make a house on that block? No. If water turns into ice, then it is fine while it is winter for 2 to 4 months. But when the warm temperature comes back, then the ice will begin to melt and will turn back into water. And if it does not melt, then it will be destroyed. In the same way, the type of the unmanifest that becomes manifest, that unmanifest is not the Dharma Paramam, the supreme status. Then we can go even one step further. See, there are 3 steps. The first is the manifest. The second is the unmanifest, from which the manifest comes. And the third step is the unmanifest, which always remains the unmanifest and eternal, and is different from the unmanifest, which becomes manifest within the modes of Prakriti nature. Avyaktat anya avyakta sanatana paraha pavaha. This is the unmanifest that is sanatana, eternal, which is the truth of the soul and which is great. Out of all the totality of perishable objects, this is the only imperishable thing. The reason for this is that it never changes. And when one has attained this, then they will never have to take a rebirth again. And this is the level of Brahman, this is the power of God, and this is where one attains infinite bliss. If we look at it in another meaning, then if one has to explain these 3 states in another way, then it can be shown by way of a diagram. Draw a dot at the center of the page, and then draw a circle the shape of a coin around this dot. This circle can be seen and it is on the outside. You should draw a label around the circle that it is the body. This is the manifest, it can be seen. The circle is the body and there is also the dot. We have drawn a dot in the middle of the circle, but in reality there is no dot inside the circle and it is just an effect. It is the effect of a dot because there are so many dots that are exactly the same inside this. The path between the dot and the circle is the mind, and the mind is unmanifest. You cannot hold the mind, you cannot see the mind, and you cannot do anything with the mind. The mind is unmanifest. At the center, at the middle, is the soul, which the Gita calls the Dharma Paramam, the supreme status here. It is that which never changes. There is no possibility of changing it. There is an infinite amount of energy and power inside it. This is the unmanifest. Now about that which you call the Dharma Paramam, supreme status, Ramanujacharya says meanings of the word Dharma, status, include place, splendor, and light. And therefore, Dharma Paramam, supreme status, is the supreme place, supreme splendor, and supreme light of Gnan, wisdom. Parama Dharma atva prakash prachi Dharma shabda pratyaksha cha ihad jnanam apiritam prakriti sanshrutat parichana gnana rupad atmana aparichana gnana rupayata mukta swarupam paranjama. Ramanujacharya says that the essential nature of the free self is boundless wisdom. This is the wisdom of one's own self, or the supreme light that is the opposite of ignorance. This is the Dharma Paramam, supreme status. Then, Lord, how can we attain this Dharma Paramam, the supreme status? How can we attain this Dharma Paramam? God describes this in the next verse, verse 22.